Inside the LCBO, the American whiskeys, the Kentucky bourbons that Premier Doug Ford has really honed in on, California wines, any U.S. ready-to-drink cocktails gone from the shelves. That's 3,600 products from 35 U.S. states no longer available. The booze has already been bought and paid for by the LCBO, pulling it off of the shelves at this point, driven by principle. Signs reading it's for the good of Ontario.
Well, as you have probably heard, I don't know if you've heard this, but we are sort of in the midst of something of a trade war between Canada, China, and Mexico. And I wanted to cover this because it's going to be affecting whiskey bourbon markets here in the U.S. and probably in Canada. And I wanted to sort of take a look at the implications of Canadian provinces taking bourbon and whiskey and other U.S. drinks off the shelves there in Canada. So I was looking through this article to start, and it's Kentucky bourbon makers fear becoming collateral damage in a trade war. So I thought that, whoa, man, Canadian must import a lot of bourbon in the U.S. And then looking at this article, it says it's just 1% of Brown-Forman Corporation Jack Daniel's whiskey. Looking at the total amount of bourbon Kentucky bourbon that Canada imports into the country and sells, it's only 40 million worth of Kentucky bourbon, and it's less than 1% of the total bourbon sales generated from U.S. bourbon. So it's, unfortunately for Canada, not really a significant amount of bourbon. This isn't going to have a huge effect on bourbon.
The governor of Kentucky said, don't touch our bourbon. And I said, Governor, that's the first thing we're going after. We're going after their bourbon. Well, we're the largest purchaser of bourbon in the world for Kentucky bourbon manufacturers. They're done. They're gone.
So as you can see, the politicians, there's an old joke that says, how can you tell a politician's lying? He's moving his mouth. Well, this is sort of that goes for Canadian politicians too. It's amazing. Your guys' politicians lie just like our politicians lie. What do you know? He's trying to drum up this whole deal that, there's a ton of bourbon being sold in Canada. It's just, it's not true. It's just not true. As a matter of fact, the United States buys $220 million worth of really garbage Canadian whiskey. Sorry, Canada, your guys' whiskey is garbage. But we buy, what's that, five times the amount of Canadian whiskey that Canada does in bourbon, just to put that in context, right?
This is an enormous hit to the American producers. Every year, the LCBO sells nearly $1 billion worth of U.S. wine, beer, cider, seltzers, and spirits.
Okay, so here too, I'm forgetting this guy's name, Ford, is kind of drum up like, oh, Canada's this huge importer of U.S. alcohol, and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that's not really the case if we look at the numbers. He just said we sell $1 billion of U.S. alcohol products. Well, guess what? That's nothing. The U.S. sold $260 billion of alcohol in 2022. Like $260 billion. So the Canadian sales represent 1/260th of sales. Canada's kind of in a tough spot here, and I feel for them because they're really big disadvantages. Not only do we make better products in terms of alcohol, like by far, the United States just have such a huge population advantage over Canada. We have 340 million people. And Canada only has 40 million people. I think Canada's population is actually less than California's, right? And of those 340 million people, they have higher incomes on average than the 40 million. So the differences in economy is just huge. I think that's 8-1 U.S. population to Canadian, and we have more money. So Canada's just really in a really, really tough spot. And if you look at U.S., we import 1.6 billion of Canadian drinks. This includes alcohol and like fruit juices and bottled water and things like that. 1.62 billion is pretty insignificant for us, right? If you think about it, Canada, with its 40 million people, sells $1 billion of U.S. alcohol. We sell, with our 340 million people, only 1.62 billion in total beverage sales. That's not, more than just alcohol. That's sodas. And like I said, Canada is much, much more reliant on us as an importer as we are to them. I don't know what's going to happen. The way the debate's been framed, it's not really a fair fight. I don't think that bourbon makers are going to be too massively, bourbon whiskey producers are going to be hit too particularly hard by this. And hopefully, things will get worked out and there won't be a tariff war. Fingers crossed on that. What do you guys think down below? Let me know. Do you think this is a good move by Canada, pulling U.S. products off shelves? Trying not to get political here, whether you're for or against the tariffs or pro this politician or pro that politician, I don't really care. I don't really want to see that in the comment section. I'm just curious, what do you think about the X's and O's here on the imports of alcohol, alcohol sales? So let me know down below. And you've been watching Bourbon Forage Fishing. Thank you and take care.